Good afternoon, grade 11. How are you today? I hope this video finds you well and healthy. Today, inshallah, we are going to talk about the grammar in your unit 8, and the grammar is narrative verbs. Narrative verbs. Okay? What is the meaning of narrative? To narrate something. To narrate. To narrate means to tell. To tell a story. To tell and retell a story. And when I say a story, it possibly means that I'm talking about an event that happens in the past. You narrate or you retell a story or an event which occurs or which happens in the past. Now, when I talk about past events, I may use three different verbs. Simple past or past simple, past continuous, and past perfect. Either I use past simple or past continuous or past perfect. Now, before we move to each and every tense and know why do we use it, how do we use it, what are the keywords and the rule or the structure of each tense, we basically need to explain more about narrative tenses. Okay? Narrative tenses are verbs that we use to talk about the past, as we said. They are used actually to tell stories and when we describe past events. So we use them either to describe past events or to tell stories. And as we said, the three tenses that we use for narrating are past simple, past continuous, and past perfect. Okay? Now, we also may have different time expressions for describing the narrative. We can use when, after, before, while, and we can also use at the time in order to tell exactly at what specific moment or what specific time did this action happen. Now let's start, after this brief introduction, let's start with the first narrative verb, and it is past simple. Past simple. I'm pretty much sure that most of you know the meaning of past simple or the rule of past simple. It's basically subject plus verb to and the object or the complement. And when I say verb to, I mean past tense of the verb, such as told or happened or explained or went. So here I'm talking about verb to. Now, why do we use past simple? What are the uses of past simple? We use it actually to describe the main events in a story. The main events in a story. Okay? And we use it to talk about the sequence of events. Sequence, تتابع. For example, let's look at this example. When she said goodbye to her family, this is a main event. She said what? Goodbye. Said, verb to. هذا the first action. في عندي تتابع. She opened the car's door. She opened the car's door and drove away. So can you see the sequence of her activities, of her actions? And these actions are main events in the story. When she said goodbye, she opened the door and drove away. First action, second action, third action, and the three of them happened one after the other in a sequence order. And we use the time expression when. This is the first use of past simple when I'm talking about sequence of events. يعني, I may ask you to correct the verb between brackets by saying when she said goodbye to her family, she opened the car's door and Pay attention that and is used for sequence to add more information. And here you actually need to write simple past for drive, which is drove. This is an example. Okay, we can also use past simple to describe completed actions in the past. To describe completed actions in the past. Yani the action is completed, it is done at a specific point or at a specific time. Okay, here the specific time is 1977. This is the specific time or specific point in the past, 1977. Sarah finished her study in 1977. The action is completed. It is done. Okay, it is finished. At a specific time, 1977. There is no continuity in this action. It is finished. So these are the two main uses for past simple. In a sequence order of events and when the action is completed. Type. Let's move to another narrative verb, which is past continuous. Past continuous. Now, what is the main rule of past continuous? Subject, was or were, plus verb with ing. Subject, was, were, verb with ing. I'm also pretty much sure that you are all familiar with past continuous. Now, why do we use past continuous? This is the question. We use it with unfinished actions in the past. And these actions are actually repeated. Okay? For example, I was working on my project for a month. So the action, as you can see, is what? Is unfinished. There is a continuity in the action. I was working on my project for a month. المدة, period of time. For a month. Okay. We can also use the past continuous when actually we are talking about two main actions. One is prolonged and the other is interrupted by it. For example, when he visited us, we were cooking dinner. Which one is longer? Cooking dinner. We're cooking dinner. This is the prolonged action. The prolonged action. It takes more time. And then it is interrupted and it stopped by his visit. When he visited us, what were we doing? We were cooking dinner. This is the second action, or this is the second use of past continuous when I'm talking about a prolonged action and then it is suddenly interrupted by a shorter action. We were cooking dinner when he visited us. This one is the longer action, and then it is interrupted and stopped by his visit. Let's take another example. The young man was driving his car. The young man was driving his car when he saw the accident. So the prolonged action is driving the car. It takes a longer time, and then this action is suddenly interrupted and stopped by his seeing for the accident. So the young man was driving his car when suddenly he saw the accident. As you can see, with time expression when in most cases we use past simple, subject زائد verb to, and the longer action is past continuous لأنه بتحسوا فيه continuity استمرارية بالحدث. Okay, there is another use for past continuous, and it is actually found in your workbook. page 68. We also use the past continuous to describe the situation or background in which the events of a story happen. The background. Okay, يعني I'm not talking about the main events الأحداث الرئيسية. No, I'm talking about the background of the situation. For example, that day my grandfather was celebrating his birthday. Okay, in the garden. Now, here I'm talking about the background. The sun was shining. It's not a main event actually. It's just, it adds flavor to the narrative. It adds flavor to the narrative. The sun was shining and the birds were singing. I don't think that those two actions are important, but they add flavor. They describe the situation. They describe the background, okay? The background of the story. What was the background? إنه sun was shining, while birds were singing, and flowers were dancing. You can add this. Okay. Now, let's move to the past perfect. Past perfect. Now, what is the rule of past perfect? It's subject plus had plus verb 3. What is the rule of past perfect? Subject, had, and verb 3. Now, you all know that past perfect is an action which happened before another action in the past. I should have two actions, one in simple past and the other in past perfect. Again, I should have two actions, one of them in simple past and the other happened before it, which is the past perfect. Let's look at this sentence. When the phone rang, we had finished eating. So we had finished eating is the first action in the past. Had plus verb 3. And then what happened? The phone rang. This is the second action in the past. We had finished eating when the phone rang. So, we had finished eating comes first in time line, and then the phone rang. So this is the first action, past perfect, and this is the second action. The train had left when I arrived at the station. The train had left when I arrived at the station. So what do you think? Which one happens first? My arrival or the train leaving? No, of course, the train leaving. The train had left. So I missed it. This is the first action. When I arrived is the second action. كان already الترين left. Okay. After he had traveled to France, he visited USA. After he had traveled to France, بعد ما زار France, he visited USA. So, here is the first action in the past. He had traveled to France and then he decided to visit USA. This is the second action. ودائما with after, I should have past perfect. Past perfect دائما مع after. Had plus verb 3. دائما after. I should have past perfect. Had plus verb 3. And as I said, this is the first action in the past, and then the second action has to be in simple past. Fine. Before I went to bed, I did something in the past. I had put my pyjama. Technically, which one happens first? You had put your pyjama and then you went to bed. ودائما مش دائما بس إنه after before I should have simple past. after before, I should have simple past, subject plus verb 2. So before I went to bed, I had put my pajama. We still have one example. By Monday, he had finished his report. By Monday, he had finished his report. Okay, I hope the narrative verbs are so clear to you. Today it was just an explanation for them. Tomorrow, inshallah, we will continue with the exercises in your student book and in your workbook. And I think after we do the exercises, everything will be clear to you. And before I let you leave, my dearest students, I want to thank Hadil Jitan for submitting her writing. And I want to thank Maya, Lilas, Haneen, Tala, Sally, Aram, Huda, Raya, Nagam and Jihan for submitting their homework, the previous one. Thank you so much, and each student will receive 1 extra mark.